It is November 14th, 2024, precisely 14:37 p.m. Eastern Time. A digital threat actor has just submitted an official communication to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, naming a Fortune 500 company as the subject of a material breach disclosure failure. The shocking element is not the breach itself, but the sender, a notorious ransomware cartel known as Black Cat. How can a criminal enterprise bypass the digital defenses of Wall Street and weaponize the very regulations designed to protect investors? Just moments later, the realization hits the corporate compliance team. The hackers didn't just steal data. They appear to have filed a regulatory complaint against their victim for not disclosing the crime fast enough. This shifts the entire landscape of digital extortion. The digital litigator. The war on data has entered a chilling new phase. For years, the playbook was simple. Infiltrate the network, encrypt the files, demand cryptocurrency, and threaten to publish the stolen data on a dark web leak site. This was the double extortion model, putting pressure on the victim's operations and reputation. But now, the threat actor is targeting the victim's stock price through the labyrinthine rules of corporate governance. This isn't just vandalism, it's sophisticated market manipulation orchestrated by criminals operating outside the law. We are talking about the maturation of ransomware cartels. They are no longer satisfied with the initial ransom payout. They are studying quarterly reports, learning the language of materiality, and targeting the specific regulatory mechanisms that govern publicly traded companies, specifically the SEC's Form 8K. The Form 8K is the essential document for any listed entity. It is the mechanism for reporting material events, anything that shareholders must know about immediately, including the discovery of a significant cybersecurity incident. If a company fails to disclose such an event in a timely manner, they face not only regulatory fines but also shareholder lawsuits alleging deception or negligence. This disclosure window, often just 4 business days after the determination of materiality, becomes the attacker's most potent leverage point. Consider the case of a major financial institution, a massive entity headquartered in Newark, New Jersey. In early February, reports confirmed they had suffered a breach impacting sensitive employee and contractor data. When data exfiltration is confirmed, the necessary first step for this novel extortion, the internal clock starts ticking toward that mandatory disclosure. The attack itself is the infiltration, but the ensuing regulatory threat is the weaponization of their own corporate rulebook. Weaponizing the clock. What happens when the criminal group lists the victim on their leak site? That public claim of responsibility creates undeniable market pressure. If the company hasn't officially filed its 8K, the market begins to price in regulatory non-compliance alongside the operational damage. That's when the threat shifts from simple data leakage to procedural sabotage. The alleged actions of the Black Cat ALPHV group are unprecedented in their direct engagement with the regulatory framework. Security analysts reviewing the incident noted that the threat actors seemed to possess an acute understanding of the compliance requirements specific to their target sector. They weren't just bragging about the stolen hard drives, they were citing the victim's obligation to the market. The data theft was the entry key. The regulatory threat was the second lock they picked. Imagine the scene inside the target company's legal department. On one side, the IT team confirms the extent of the data loss, hundreds of gigabytes perhaps, like the 530-gigabyte leak attributed to Black Basta against a major manufacturer recently, which almost guarantees material impact. On the other side, the clock is running down to the 8K filing deadline. Then, an alert arrives, a message indicating that the ransomware group is already communicating with the SEC about the company's silence. This forces a catastrophic choice. Pay the ransom immediately to force the attackers to retract their filing or suppress their threats, or face the dual threat of data publication and regulatory investigation for late disclosure. The calculus shifts from what is the cost of the data to what is the cost of perceived corporate malfeasance. This entire strategy suggests a level of coordination rarely seen outside nation-state cyber operations. It implies that these cartels are employing more than just coders. They are likely leveraging specialized intelligence or perhaps even compromised legal contacts who understand the specific submission protocols for regulatory bodies. Are they filing as anonymous tipsters? Are they using shell corporations registered in friendly jurisdictions? The question hangs heavy in the digital atmosphere. The legal shadow game. The core of the mystery lies in the mechanics of that submission. In traditional hacking, the threat is external. We will leak this. In this scenario, the threat is codified. You are violating securities law by withholding this material fact, and we, the hackers, are informing the regulator of your violation. The criminal group effectively inserts itself into the enforcement chain.
This sophisticated tactic is evidence that the era of simple, untargeted attacks is over. We are witnessing cybercriminals evolving into what can only be described as digital litigators, wielding the threat of legal action and market instability as their primary tool for leverage. They have learned that a formal complaint, even one originating from a criminal source, forces a response from compliance officers focused on fiduciary duty. The internal review process, which already takes weeks or months to verify the full scope of a breach, as seen in municipal cases where confirmation of data theft was delayed by many months, becomes a dangerous liability window exploited by the attackers. The pressure is immense because SEC disclosure rules require honest representation. If the ransomware group files a detailed report of the stolen documents, and the company officially denies it while the investigation drags on, the company risks devastating perjury charges or charges of misleading investors. The attackers are forcing the victims to use the regulatory system as a shield, but only on the attacker's terms. The escalation is unmistakable. The playbook is now compromised, exfiltrate, list on the leak site to create immediate public pressure, and then file a formal regulatory complaint to guarantee the stock price dips and the leadership team panics over legal exposure. What does this mean for the future of corporate defense? It means that cybersecurity response plans must now include a dedicated legal warfare unit prepared not just to handle the data breach itself, but to counter immediate, potentially fraudulent regulatory action designed to accelerate a settlement. The ransomware gangs have successfully moved their extortion attempts from the dark web directly into the light of the stock exchange floor.
The next time a major breach is announced, we must ask ourselves, who filed the first report? And were they the victim or the orchestrator of the regulatory alarm?